Om Shanti. Welcome to today's episode of Masters of Change. Change will not come if we wait for some other time or some other person. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. Today, to help us adapt to change in a better way, today we have with us Sister Linda from UK. Welcome, Sister.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you very much.
Why don't you start by telling us something about your journey, where it all started from?
Okay. So my journey started really, I think, when I was a small child. Yeah. I remember when I was a very small child, maybe about 7, going to church. We have a little group in the UK where small children join. It's called the Brownies. Yeah,
Brownies.
They're called Brownies. It's a children's class thing.
Yeah.
And we went to church. We used to go to church on Sundays, and I remember going into church and thinking how dark it was in there and how cold it was in there, and I couldn't find God. I remember this quite clearly. And then I grew up anyway. This was just a one-off incident. And then when I became, maybe I started to think how boring life was. Is this all it is? You get up and you go to school at that time, or you go to work and you come home and you eat your dinner and you sit and watch television, and then you go to sleep and then you get up and do exactly the same thing. And I remember thinking there must be some purpose to life. There must be some meaning to life. So it started me looking at alternative things. And in the 60s, the Beatles have, they brought spirituality actually to the West. Yeah. Not religion, but spirituality. And then these things started to open up. So I started to join a few groups which were much more into things like occult things like palmistry and color therapies and different things like that. And one of the things that, as I went through the years, I got very involved in was astrology. And I was very interested in this because it's a real science. Yeah. You have to be quite good at maths. I mean, now that everybody does it on the computer, but in those days you had to work out mathematically. Yeah. And I found it answered a lot of questions to life. And I found this very interesting. And by the time I was involved in this part of my journey, I had actually got married. Okay. And the marriage that I was in was hopeless. Absolutely hopeless. From day one, it was hopeless. And astrology actually answered why it was hopeless. Because, not that I discovered it, but that one of my teachers that was teaching us showed me in my chart, and I took his chart as well, and he showed us that the two charts at a certain time when I met this person and I married them, I was under a Moon-Neptune transit, which means the Moon is about intuition and Neptune's all about illusion. And it's like I was totally hoodwinked under this illusion, thinking this was love. Yeah. Anyway, so we got married, and it was just a disaster from day one. Anyway, that only lasted for 5 years. But in that 5 years, it's like I got more and more unhappy. Yeah. Because I was in a relationship that just wasn't working, and I could not find a way out of this relationship. And I expect my other half felt exactly the same. Once you tie that in bondage like that, if it doesn't work, it's very, very difficult to undo it. Correct. And so, anyway, so then I started a deeper search, and I was still into astrology, and I went to a Mind, Body, Spirit exhibition. They were very popular in the UK, and I went to this exhibition, and in this exhibition there must have been about 1,000 people, all looking for something, all looking for something, not knowing what they're looking for. Anyway, I came across the Brahma Kumaris like I tripped over them. I didn't see any sign up on the stand that said Brahma Kumaris. And but I engaged in a conversation with this man, this brother, and he just told me this little story. And he said that when the gods were creating the world, They had created the world, but they wanted to find somewhere where they could hide the key to man. And so one god said, let's put the key up on top of the highest mountain. And another god said, no, they'll find it there. So another one said, well, let's drop it to the bottom of the deepest ocean. And another one said, he'll invent something to be able to get to the bottom of the ocean. And the third god said, let's put the key inside man. I expect you've heard this story. But it did something to me. Let's put the key inside man. And at that time, I had been to various different groups to learn meditation. And they were all nice, but they didn't do what I wanted them to do.
Yeah.
So this story did something in my heart. Anyway, this person on the stand said, come and meditate. I said, oh no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I don't want to do that. Yes, come and meditate. I said, I can't sit on the floor. And he said, well, I'll get you a chair. Anyway, he got a chair. And so I couldn't get out of it. And I sat on this chair, and opposite me was a picture on the wall. And it had a cycle on it. And it said, Golden Age, Silver Age, Copper Age, and Iron Age. That's all I read. And I thought I'd never heard of those ages. I've heard of the Stone Age and a Bronze Age, which we were taught at school. I never heard of those. Anyway, I didn't take any notice of it. We started the meditation and boom, I was gone. I was up there somewhere in this state of silence, still, bliss. My heart was like, my heart expanded. I felt this massive experience of love. And I felt it lasted for ages. And it was so real to me that when the meditation finished, I thought everybody in the room must have seen that. It was so powerful. And they'd all come up to me and say, wow, what had happened to you? And nobody spoke to me. Absolutely nobody spoke to me, not even the person that had made me sit down for meditation.
Right.
And I just happened, and I knew at that moment that was it. That was it, whatever that was, and I translated that as God, even though I didn't know what God was. I thought, that's it. That's what I want. That's my life now. So I happened to overhear that there was a program the following Tuesday in Brighton. There was no centre in Brighton. The nearest centre was London. So anyway, I went to this program, and they were very lucky I did, because I was the only one that turned up. There were lots of other people there, but they were all BKs. I didn't know that, but I was the only one. Anyway, they told stories and did a little class, and I was very impressed. Yeah. Then we had meditation, and boom, I was gone again. So I thought, maybe it's the commentary. They played a meditation commentary tape. I thought it must be that's made this happen. So I bought one, and it cost 50 pence, which is half of a pound in the UK, 50 pence. Anyway, I took this, it was like gold dust. I took this cassette home, and I meditated every day, every morning. And I worked out that the only time I could meditate, because I was still in the family then, I have one son, the only time I could meditate was early in the morning. So I used to get up before they got up, because otherwise the phone rings and people are in and out of the house and everything. So I got up at 5:45, and I sat for meditation from 6 to 6:30. And every single morning I had an experience. Every single morning, a different experience. It wasn't the same. But what I felt was, over that period, that my heart was so broken. It was like, when you break glass and it fractures all over the place? It felt like that, and it felt like God had a pair of tweezers, and he was just putting each piece back, each day, putting a piece back and making my heart whole again. It was like that. And every day my energy went up. I felt enthusiastic about the day. My relationship was still deteriorating, but it didn't hurt me so much. So anyway, 9 months later, I did the Raj Yoga course. I didn't even know there was a Raj Yoga course. Oh. And so I did the course, and a lot of the words on the tape I'd already heard. Yeah. So it was completely familiar, and I knew where I was going. Yeah. So they just filled in some little spaces within that I didn't quite grasp. And one thing that really touched me was the lesson on karma. I had known about karma through the Buddhists. We had Buddhists there, and I've known about that for quite a long time. And I wondered to myself, if people know about karma, why is the world in such a mess? Why are people so unhappy? Why are people so violent and aggressive and hate each other? And what I learned from that lesson was that, there's a saying in English, it takes two to tango. And I was linking it to my relationship, that it takes two of you for it to break down. It's not one person's fault. It's both of you together. So what I learned was that to take 50% of responsibility for our relationship. And I didn't have to take 100%.
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing, taking 100%. I'm a failure, it's not working.
Yeah.
So I took that responsibility for the 50%, and I was still meditating every day, and actually within 3 months our relationship dissolved very easily, which was quite incredible. It was like God had intervened, and it made the situation a win-win on both sides. So there was a little bit of pain,
right,
but both sides came out of that equally, with balance. There was not a war or anything. It was really, really lovely. It was very, I don't know anybody else that's gone through something as easily as that. Yeah. We agreed on everything. And then I felt really free.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah. Then I started to learn how to be myself. Because when you're in relationships, you kind of sacrifice a lot of things. You sacrifice some part of you to be part of them.
Correct.
And you get lost in that. So it was quite a new thing to have all this sense of space around me that's to kind of grow. And that's what I wanted. This program is about change.
Right.
I wanted to change.
Right.
And so then I started the morning class. Somebody came into Brighton, and they started a centre, and we started morning class, and every day, since then, every day, and I've been with the Brahma Kumaris now 40 years, I have never missed a morning class.
Wow.
Never. And I love it because there's always something new to learn about oneself. There's always things to learn about life, and about why the world is in the state that it's in. And I find this very inspiring, and how to make the changes to create the world that God sees, which is the golden age, which is what that picture was that I saw those years ago. This golden age where the world will be a heaven on earth. And as I've gone through these years, I've started to understand it more, of how that creation is being created. It's being created by each one of us, Brahma Kumaris and Kumaris, working on their own self and making those deep changes to release us from the vices of greed, of anger, of desire, of ego, of attachment. And as we work on ourselves, then this energy starts to change things in the world. And we are going through some amazing changes all over the world, isn't it? The elements of nature are bringing about changes. I've been here, I come to India for sunshine, blue skies and sunshine and hot weather, because in the UK it's cloudy and rainy, and it's winter when I left. The last 2 days it's been thunderstorms and lightning and rainfall, and quite an amazing. Nature's really playing its part now, showing its aggression, and the seas have been rising, and so there's a huge amount of unrest all over the world.
Do you think if we are heading in the right direction, because a lot of people are now waking up and they're following spirituality and meditation, we see young people also joining in. What do you think where the world is heading, and how would the golden age be like according to you?
I think we're heading in exactly how it's supposed to be. Because, it's like if you move into a house and someone else has lived in, and you want to make it your own, you have to take all the wallpaper off. You have to, sometimes knock down a wall here and there. So you create a kind of destruction, and it looks a mess. And sometimes you think, I can't bear living in this because it looks like... And then all of a sudden, it all becomes new again, and everything is where you want it to be. Everything is the way you want it to be. And so I think this is what we're doing, is that, as we're making these internal changes, it affects the whole. This energy that we're taking from God, we can't do this without God, but this energy we're taking from God, making these transformational moves inside, and it takes a lot of courage to do this.
Correct.
It's not for the faint-hearted, really. You do have to be very courageous, because you have to face yourself. It's not, you can't give up anger just like that. You think you can. I thought in the beginning, that'll take me 5 years. I can do that. 40 years later, and I'm still working, because it had subtleties to it. But as we make those adjustments, then it's like the energy erupts inside, and it becomes quite volcanic. And the more that erupts, then there's more space inside for the purity, the pure energy to start working. So it's a kind of cycle that the rubbish is coming up, erupting, and then you're taking love and peace from God, and that's filling you. So it's creating a huge disturbance. And that's one of the things that I find so really fascinating when I come here, because it is the most powerful place on earth, Mount Abu. And the Brahma Kumaris 3 campuses are the most powerful, the most spiritual place on earth. And when we're in that, it's like it becomes a mirror of your imperfections. And Sister Janti used to say, you keep going every year, and first of all, you start seeing how ugly you are. But after a time, you start to see how beautiful you are. And that's actually equally frightening to see how beautiful you are. So each year you come and you have to face yourself, and it becomes a spiritual mirror.
Why is that? Why is it frightening to see how beautiful you are?
Well, I don't know why it's so frightening, but it definitely is. I think because we live with our own ugliness. We know our own defects, don't we? And we've developed a whole load of ways to hide our defects from others seeing them. This is what the ego does. It protects you from others seeing how you are. And when you come here, there is no ego. You can't play that game, because everybody's here to be real. And so everybody's wanting to be who they are. And authenticity has been the buzzword in the Brahma Kumaris for the last few years now. We all want to be authentic. We want to be true to ourselves, and we want the inside to marry up with the outside. So like I meet you and I think, wow, you look like an angel already. But you know that there's things inside you, and you might think the same about me. But there's still things that I want to change. So, but as you get more beautiful, it's like it's scary, because you didn't think it was possible to be so beautiful. So beautiful and so powerful. And so this is why purity is a very important part of our structure, really, because to be powerful, there's a saying that says power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I can't remember which guru said that, but we can see that in the world. These leaders that we have here that have so much power and are causing so much sorrow for people. So purity helps us to be able to use that power in terms of being benevolent, of helping people. And so I find that when I change, it enables others to change. And it's very inspiring to see people change. When I go back to the center, which will be the end of this week, they will look at me and want to see what's changed in her. Has she come back exactly the same? They don't want to see the same. And it's inspiring. It's not that they're going to scrutinize me, but they want to see that it's possible to make this level of changes.
I want to know why purity plays and how purity plays such a big role in spirituality, and why is it considered so like a major part if you want to grow spiritually? How does purity play a role in that?
Well, I think it's always played a part. I mean, India is the most spiritual land. We've had holy men, saints, sages over centuries. There's no other country in the world that's had this level of spirituality. Yeah. And one of the aspects of spirituality in India is purity. All the saints and sages, they're all celibate for a start. Maybe it's changing now, but traditionally that's what they are, and they live on their own, and they live a pure, simple lifestyle. And actually, that's quite it's quite unusual in the West. In India, maybe it's not considered, because it's quite natural. You've only got to go down the street and you see a sadhu or somebody. I don't see many of those in my hometown. Yeah. You know, walking barefoot with holy robes on, and you know,
right.
Yeah. So it's in the West. It's quite considered like, wow, we're into all the vices, and we're into drugs and alcohol and all of these things to make them peaceful. But purity is really it's like a vessel that holds God's power. And as impurity is about releasing anger and the ego and the attachments. This is the purging that we do mentally, so that we can be free to just be. You know, Rumi wrote about his love for God, and that's all about purity. It's all about holding the power of God's love. It has to have a pure vessel, and so that's what we're doing. We're cleaning out the vessel so that we can hold God's love. And this was my first experience in meditation of meeting the Brahma Kumaris, was God's love. So this isn't the experience I get now. This was like, I'll give you a taste of it. God says, I'll give you a taste of it. Now you make the effort to make that a reality in your life every day. So purity is, and I loved that. That was one of the things that really attracted me, and it was very helpful in my relationship as well, purity. So for me, I think it's absolutely essential. And when people interact with me at home, nobody thinks I'm married. Nobody thinks I've smoked a cigarette. Nobody thinks I've been in the pub for a drink. And nobody thinks about those things. You know, they just don't, because where I'm at now doesn't remind them of any of those things. Yeah. And if people did think of it, they'd think it was very strange. I'd look really strange with a cigarette in my hand now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so people don't quite understand it, but they do like it. Yeah. They like it because they like the energy you radiate. Yeah,
correct. Was it difficult for you though? Since you shared that it was such a profound experience, meditation, it was such a lovely experience. So I'm thinking it would have been easy for you to bring all those changes in your life, or was it difficult?
Both. Both.
How did you deal with the difficulties and challenges then?
Well, I think that comes to faith. That definitely you need faith, and that's why you need courage, because this path is about, we don't have anybody we can see. Yeah. You know, we don't have a living guru. Yeah. Our relationship with God is just on the basis of what's going on in our head. You can't see God. He doesn't come here in any shape or form. So it's quite difficult. You do need to have experiences to make that a reality. But in our morning class, every day we get, it's like a letter from God. So he's explaining who he is, who she is, and explaining who I am. And this is why purity is necessary, to dissolve form so that it can just come back to the essence, which is just pure light. So this takes time, but when we have experiences, we know inside our heart this is right. Yeah. So faith plays a big part in this. Correct. that, one thing I do is, in terms of facing challenges, is I always say yes to whatever opportunity I'm given, knowing that I'm not qualified to do it, because this will stretch me and make me grow. And I remember, I wanted to, when I first became a BK, I wanted to share this with people. And I wanted to do talks. And I was absolutely hopeless. And I was absolutely terrified. But I still did it. Yeah. And I would just die inside 100 times. Yeah. But my heart wanted to do it so much. And God really helped me. So now I'm much more relaxed at speaking in front of people. Yeah. Before I was absolutely terrified. So, we keep facing our inner fears until we get to a stage where we're really beyond. And that's what all the holy people wanted to do, really. They want to transcend and just be beyond this world, but live in this world. We're doing it through knowledge and yoga, the two things. And also, we're also doing it through this internal change. And as we do that, this is why purity is important. We are activating our virtues. And so our truth, our honesty, our flexibility, our royalty, simplicity, sweetness, kindness, mercy, all of these start to flourish. Yeah, they're all in there, but in today's world, nobody uses them because it's much easier to get things done by being aggressive and, this kind of thing.
Correct. So, do you come to India every year?
Yes.
So it's been 40 years now since you come?
Yeah. No, it's about 37. I didn't come as soon as I came across the Brahma Kumaris. I didn't even know who they were. Yeah. So I had to learn about them. But I came when I first came, and now up until COVID, I was coming twice a year to make up for the times that I didn't come. So again, taking opportunities, getting involved in different activities that are happening in India. It's very lovely to be able to come to India and serve India. And so we bring guests to India. In October, we had a retreat called Peace of Mind. So we brought guests from the West. All the foreign countries would come here, about 150 guests, and spend a week doing the Brahma Kumaris Raj Yoga course, having access to spirituality, getting up for 4 o'clock meditation. They loved it, absolutely loved it. So, if any little excuse that I've found to get here,
take it.
I take it, because it's fortune. Yeah. It's absolute fortune.
So what's that, I want to know, what's that one new thing that you're taking from India this time?
This time, well, I think it's, we're in a very interesting time space globally, and fear is increasing in the world, and there's a lack of direction. People don't know where they're going. So I feel, and I like to leave India, I like to leave Madhaban with a kind of clear overview of where I want to go to. So my overview for the next year or the next time I come is I want to become more angelic. It's like I want to shift my consciousness more away from this world. And there's still a few things that pull me. One of them is the news. And I don't watch television, so I don't have a television. But I like to, when I go on the internet, then I get the news up. And before I know it, I'm looking at this country and that country and the other. And I want to not do that. Because the world won't stop just because I don't know what's happening in the world.
Why do you think it is important to not go through the news?
Because the news is all about sorrow. Yeah. It's all about violence. It's ugly things, really terrible things. And there's so many people on this planet doing so many beautiful things, really inspiring things, that I want to focus on that. So the news and the BBC is really the pits of it, really, because everything that they put on is about rape, it's about torture, it's about cruelty. I mean, we're wasting all this money on bombs when we've got people sleeping on the streets and people starving. It's so out of balance now. Yeah. So anyway, finish. That's my finish. because I want to not pollute my mind
Yeah.
with this kind of trash, really. It's trash.
Correct. Well, it was such a lovely conversation with you.
Yes, you're a very good conversationalist, and it's my honor to have met you.
It was our pleasure to hear you and learn from you. And the time only permits us this much, otherwise we would have flown with the conversation, I'm sure. Thank you for taking our time and joining us today.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.